Today's topic is ordering and comparing decimals and fractions. First, we're going to compare between fractions and decimals. We're going to compare using the greater than, the less than, or the equal sign. So the first thing that we're going to do is look at 0.55 and 40 over 100. What you should notice is that this one is in decimal form and this one is in fraction form. It's going to be difficult to compare, so what we're going to have to do is either take this and make it into a fraction, or we're going to take that and make it into a decimal by dividing. So, if you notice, 0.55, that is in the hundredth position. For this example, it's going to be easier to take this and make it a fraction. So, 55 is going to go in the numerator, and then in the denominator will be the 100 because it's in the hundredth position. Now that the denominators are the same, they're both out of 100, we can look at the numerators. This one's a 55 and this one's a 40. 55 is greater than 40. So since it's greater than 40, remember the sign, that big opening always wants the bigger number, and this end is facing the smaller number. So we would read this as 55 hundredths is greater than 40 hundredths. Example number 2, we're going to look at 0.36 and 3 over 10. In this way that we looked at, we converted this number into a fraction. Right now we're going to take the fraction and convert it into a decimal, just so you see both ways. Okay, 0.36 we're going to leave. Now we're going to look at 3 over 10. Remember 3, this really looks like a division sign, so 3 divided by 10. 3 divided by 10. You should notice that 10 cannot go into 3, so we need to add our decimal point and 0. We have to remember to bring up that decimal. Bring up the decimal. Now 10 goes into 30 3 times. So now 0.36 is being compared to 0.3. Remember that we can add a 0 here just so that we have the same amount of places. So now we're going to look at 36 or 30. Which one's bigger? The 36 is bigger. This is bigger. So we're going to go back to our original. 0.36 is greater than 3 over 10. I want you to pause the video right now and look at 0.8 and 10 over 100. I want you to either convert them both to fractions or both to decimals and try to figure out whether it's greater than, less than, or equal to. What I'm going to do is just take the 0.8 and convert it into a fraction. Our number that we're looking at is 8. We put that in the numerator, and it's in the 10th position. So we have 8 over 10. You should notice 10 and 100 are different. They're not the same denominators. So we're going to have to take that 10 and make it into 100. Okay, so we are going to scale up to 100. How do we go from 10 to 100? We multiplied by 10. So we're going to have to scale up by multiplying 10 up here. And this is 80 over 100. Now our denominators are the same, 100 here and 100 here. Now we could look at our numerators. We're comparing 80 and we're comparing 10. Which one's larger? The 80. So our inequality symbol that we're going to use again, is the greater, because 0.8 is greater than 10 over 100. Okay, now we're going to look at ordering. We're going to order from least to greatest. Remember, least means smallest, and then greatest means larger. So we're going from the smaller number to the larger number. Okay, let's look at our numbers. We have negative 0.8, positive 1.25, negative 8 over 100, positive 6 over 4, a 0, and 62 over 50. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to determine whether we want them all in fraction form or do we want them in decimal form. I'm going to put them into decimal form. I take that back. I'm going to reduce this one and put it in decimal. I'm going to put that into a mixed number and then that one into a mixed number and see what we can do from there. So I'm going to leave this, I'm going to leave this. Negative 8 over 100. Let's see what we could do. If this is out of 100 and our numerator is negative 8, so we're going to have negative decimal point. Remember, we want an 8 in the 100th spot, so we need to add that 0 here, so that would be 100th spot and an 8 100ths. Now we're going to look at 6 over 4. We're going to treat this as a division problem. So 6 divided by 4. 6 divided by 4. 4 goes into 6 once. 1 times 4 is 4. Then we're going to subtract. 6 minus 4 is 2. We have no numbers to bring down, so we're going to add a decimal 0. Bring up our decimal and bring down the 0. So 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract, we get 0. So 6 over 4 is really 1.5. 0, we don't have to do anything. And now we're going to look at 62 over 50. So 62 divided by 50. 50 goes into 62 1 times. 1 times 50 is 50. We're going to subtract, and we're going to get 12, because 62 minus 50 is 12. There's no other numbers to bring down. Oops. No other numbers to bring down, so I am going to add a decimal point and another 0. I'm going to remember to bring up my decimal point. Now I could bring down that 0. 50 goes into 120 2 times. 2 times 50 is 100. We're going to subtract 120 minus 100. We're going to get 20. Then again, we have to bring down another 0 because we have 20 more that we have to see if we can get rid of. When we bring down another 0, we have 200. We notice that 50 goes into 100 4 times. 4 times 50 is 200. And when we subtract, we have 0 left over, so we don't have to bring over any numbers. And 62 over 50 is 1.24. Now that we have all the numbers that we could easily compare, we're going to order them from least to greatest. I'm just going to put a reference number line next to it. You should remember that 0 goes in the middle, our positive numbers on the right of it and our negative numbers on the left. Okay, so now let's look at our numbers. I'm going to write them here. Negative 0.8, positive 1.25. This one is negative 0.08. This one we got 1.5. 0 we could leave at 0. And 62 over 50 is really 1.24. Okay. Let's start with our negatives because they are smaller than 0 and our positives. So our answer will be, let's look at our two negatives, which we have here, and we have another negative here. We have to remember, the further away it is from 0 when we're negative, the smaller the number. So our first smallest number is negative 0.8. Then we get this number right here. We want to write it in original form, so negative 8 over 100. Remember, negative 8 over 100 is closer to 0 than negative 0.8. Next, we're going to put our 0, because it's right in the middle, it's neutral. Then, the numbers to the right of 0 are our positive numbers. It goes like you think about it, from smaller to bigger with positive. So we have 1.24, which is really 62 over 50. Our next one would be 1.25. And lastly, we have 6 over 4. This right here is our answer. Now let's look at the questions that you're going to do as an assessment, and we'll go over them tomorrow. So our assessment questions are: compare 3.4 to 14 over 3. Compare 2.8 to 28 over 10 in order from least to greatest: 2.4, 0, 15 over 10, negative 1.75, 1.9, and negative 5 over 4.